This is a rain stick. It's a tube that's meant to simulate the sound of rain. Sorta. Hey, welcome to Woodworking for Mere Mortals. I'm Steve, and on this channel, I want to share with you my passion for woodworking and show you how you can get started in this fun hobby without a huge space or $1 million. If you haven't already done so, be sure to download my free guide to setting up a workshop for under $1,000 at mytoollist.com. Sorta. I'm gonna make this all out of 1/4 inch plywood. I'm gonna set the bevel on my saw to 30 degrees or 60 degrees, depending on how you look at it. Having one of these bevel boxes is really handy. I'm using a scrap of cherry plywood. It's got a good face and a not so good face. So I want all of those to match. And if you're using plywood that's the same on both sides, it's gonna be much easier. What you can do is cut out the strips, and as soon as you cut one, you can just flip the board around and then cut out the opposite bevel so that both bevels are facing in. In this case, if I did that, every other strip would be backwards. I've cut out this strip to show you what's going on here. I want both of these bevels to go in this way, which means it needs to be cut like this. The only problem with my rip fence is that it has this gap here, and the beveled edges of the cuts will slide under there. So I need to attach a board here. I'll just clamp this in place to keep the board from sliding under it. And I'll lock this in a little bit wider than my final width. And I just want to keep reminding myself that the bevel goes inward towards the back side. Okay, hopefully here you can see what's going on. This is the piece I just cut out from right there. And this is my good face, and the bad face is back here, and that bevel goes towards that back side. If the plywood was the same on both sides, then it would be easy to do this. All I would need to do is flip this board around this way and make that cut, and just keep flipping the board as I go. But again, if I did that in this case, I would have a two-tone rain stick with the kind of icky side and then the nice good side. So my solution is to cut all 6 of these strips a little bit oversized, then adjust my rip fence to their exact width. The whole idea here is that I just don't want to keep moving my rip fence once I've got it set to the exact width. So now I've got a bunch of strips with the bevels going in the same direction. So obviously I need this bevel to come in towards that back side. Flip the board around this way, and now I need to slide my fence over to about there. I'm sure there's other ways I could do this, but this just seems like a simple, no-fuss way of getting it done. To glue these up, I'm gonna first tape them together with some masking tape. For those of you who are new to my show, I always use Titebond 2 wood glue. And finally, I want to put some glue on one of these outside edges. Now I should be able to just carefully roll this up. I'm gonna use some rubber bands to clamp this together. It doesn't need a whole lot of clamping pressure. Mainly, I just wanna make sure that there's no gaps in between those seams. I think you could also clamp this together just by running some tape all the way around it. Okay. That looks pretty good. Let that dry for a while. Now I can square up the ends. I'll cut these out with my jigsaw. They don't have to be exact. I'll sand them down to their exact fit later. I'm drilling a real shallow 1/2 inch diameter hole on the back side, being careful that I don't poke through the other side. This is a Forstner bit. It gives you a nice flat bottomed hole, but you can just use a regular drill bit too. And that's all I'm looking for. So those little holes are going to act as sort of a guide for this 1/2 inch dowel rod. It'll just sit in there and keep it centered. It doesn't have to be a tight fit at all. Now I need to cut down this dowel to its exact length. And to do that, I'll just drop one of these in place and slide this over without breaking my lights out. Drop it down like that. And you can see I need to take about a 1/4 inch off. Perfect. I picked up some of this wire mesh to use for the baffles inside the rainstick. It's also called hardware cloth. I have no idea why it's called a cloth, but I can only find it in this 5-foot length, which I'm not gonna need even a fraction of that, but it was $10. I'm sure you could probably come up with other things to put inside of this that'll have the same effect. Or you could just buy a rabbit and make a cage out of the rest of this. Just another money-saving tip. And now I've just got about 1 billion more of these to cut out. Well, I don't know how many of these I've cut, but it took me about an hour. I'm gonna start putting these on the dowel, and I'm just going to slide them down. Kind of looks like a weapon at this point. A little bit of Negan's baseball bat, I think. I really think it would be worth experimenting with different materials to make a rainstick with. Traditionally, they were made out of, say, bamboo, and they would have like spikes put in through the sides, or out of types of cactus, and they would use the quills or the little needles inside. Well, amazingly, I cut just enough of those to fit on this dowel. Okay, let's see if I can drop this into here. That is a snug fit. Oh, that sound though. So really, with all those baffles in there, I didn't really need to make this hole because that is not going to move, but I'll go ahead and glue it on anyway. I'll use this other piece just to have something to clamp against. Now comes the fun part, filling this up with rain. You can use all different kinds of materials. Little steel BBs would work really well. They'd probably make a better sound since it would be metal hitting metal inside. I don't have any of those, so I'm gonna use some rice. I'm gonna finish this with some Danish oil. And you just wipe this on.